Hello, history scholars. Mrs. Olson here. I'd like to introduce you to the Greek gods and goddesses. Before we do that, I'd like to explain what a myth is. So starting with our learning target, you are going to understand how myths provide perspective into ancient Greece. So we're going to study and understand what a myth is first of all, and then we will understand how it gives us perspective, how we are able to understand what the people of ancient Greece believed, what they thought, what they valued. So here we are at the beginning. What is a myth? In Greek mythology, a myth was used to explain the environment in which the ancient Greeks lived. It was a way to explain the how and the why of the world. So a few examples of this. A myth might explain natural phenomena like flooding or the seasons. And later on in this lesson, you are going to be reading a story about the reason for seasons. I chose this picture because there might be a myth that helps to explain why there's thunder, which is a natural phenomena. Now, a second example of what a myth does and did was to tell stories about the lives of gods, like how they came to be. This is Athena, and they say that Athena was born from her father, Zeus's brain, that she didn't have a mother. The story or the myth might tell who the gods were related to. And it might tell what kind of powers the god had and what they were able to do with those powers. Now, the last example is that ancient Greeks used myths to retell historical events. This was a way that they could pass on stories for generations, perhaps about wars that they fought or places that they explored. Okay. The telling of myths. Now, in modern times, the term myth might have a negative connotation. That means that it isn't used in the most polite sense. Somebody is saying that they wouldn't believe your story, that it lacks authenticity or reliability. So, in modern times, when somebody says, oh, you're telling a myth, well, they're saying that your story might not necessarily be true. Well, in ancient times, historians believed that in ancient Greece, some people believed the myths and some people did not, discounted. They were kind of shooed away and not believed. But they were used for religious purposes and also educational purposes. So in many different religions around the world, there are stories used to tell lessons. And the same goes for education. Especially in history and literature, we use stories to help tell what happened. Sometimes the myths were used for entertainment, so it would be a story that would pass the time and people would laugh or cry, and it's kind of like watching a play, which some of these myths were turned into later on. And I also want you to know that the Greek myths were familiar and popular with all kinds of people within Greek society. Okay, so here we go with the gods and goddesses. Now, the Olympian gods were put on Earth or put in the lives of men on Earth to rule their destiny, and sometimes they interfered with what people were doing on Earth. Sometimes they interfered in favorable ways, so the people wanted them to interfere, and sometimes they did so and it was not considered favorable. So what I want to do now is switch over. I'm going to end my PowerPoint And we are going to switch over so that I can show you. There it is. So that I can show you the video, and it's a short one, that introduces you to the Greek gods and goddesses. So the first one that you are going to watch and learn about is Zeus, the king of all gods. Okay, so I wanted you to see what the beginning of it looked like so that you knew you were on the right one. And then you are going to go to the lesson that deals with the gods and goddesses. All right, guys, have fun. Hope you learned a lot. Bye.